welcome to the Cryptonaut Podcast. I'm Mark Storrs, and with me as always is...
Chris.
And...
Rob Morphy.
Welcome to this week's show. Be sure to follow us on the social medias, the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Instagrams. We're there, we're talking, we're hanging out. It's good times.
Living the good life.
Be sure to rate and review this on the Apple Podcasts and the iTunes. It's important to the show. It helps our ratings. It helps the show grow. It helps us get a wider listener base. And we have some reviews, guys.
And plus, it just makes us feel good.
It really does. It really is more, I think, of a vanity thing at this
totally
point.
is.
Yeah.
It's just the ego boost at the end of the week that makes us go, oh, shucks.
I think right now we're at like 89 reviews total.
Can't believe it.
Yeah, 89 ratings. So you know what? If by the end of the summer, if we could get this up to like 100, that'd be dope.
That would be so dope.
That'd be super dope. So, all right, let's go over some ratings real quick. I'm going to butcher these names because that's just what I do. But this comes from Jazz Jeanette. A Jazz Jeanette. A Jazzinette.
A jazzinette.
Oh,
It works. A bunch of fun. 5-star review. Great podcast. These guys are witty, personable, and smart. Their episodes are well researched too. The best part of all of this is that I just discovered them, and luckily for me, I get to binge listen to the rest of the episodes. Thanks to MAU Podcast for the referral. Monsters Among Us.
Oh, shit.
What up, Derek? What up, Addie? Thanks for the referral. Very much appreciated.
And thank you for the review.
Yeah, thank you very much for the review.
Miss Jazz. Miss Jazz.
Let's see, moving on here.
Hey,
We
Jazz.
got Sarah TDL, 5-star review. Gets 5 librarian gold stars
Holy
as the
shit.
title.
What?
Whoa.
I fucking love librarians. Like, literally, they're my favorite research assistants.
Yeah, totally. So Sarah,
Thank you.
Sarah goes on to say, this is a fun, interesting podcast that covers some of the weirdest and most obscure paranormal stories. I love this stuff. But as a librarian, I really love how well these guys research their topics and present that information in a fun, accessible way. Well done, gents. You get 5 librarian gold stars.
I really could not be happier.
That is the best thing a librarian's ever said to me.
I love them. I really do. I've had nothing but positive experiences, and they have helped so much in all my research. Like, in obscure cases, sometimes I will literally just call the local library closest to wherever this happened, and I have had librarians bend over backwards to give me research. I love them. Our good buddy Lisa's a librarian.
Yeah, we love librarians.
Rule. Thank you so much.
Librarians for life.
I think the last thing I did in the library was smoke a cigarette.
Oh, my God.
I'm not kidding.
You Motley Crewed your way
In the
through a
library
fucking
in the
library.
high school, you just go to the. Nobody ever went
Oh,
to the
yeah,
very
no, I
last.
remember, yeah.
You could smoke a cigarette.
Butts in there,
I
really?
did. I don't give a fuck.
Wow.
Sorry.
Jesus. Nice.
I don't smoke anymore though.
Chris
so.
is fucking hard smoking butts in the library. Okay, moving on here. From oh boy, here we go. Bitz Darlin. Down the rabbit hole, 5-star review. I absolutely love this podcast. I was only really aware of cryptids through recycled stories of Bigfoot and the Jersey Devil. Rob and the crew do an outstanding job of giving thorough recounts of unique cryptid encounters while providing plenty of entertaining dialogue throughout the pod. I usually find myself laughing more often than not, especially when the conversation falls into the proverbial rabbit hole of speculation. Great job, guys.
We do.
Thank you.
Definitely go down holes.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much.
Rounding it off here to for the reviews, we got Marty Get Fly. I like that.
Ah, yes.
5-star review titled Best Podcast Ever.
Whoa.
Oh,
Well, I don't
snap.
know
Again.
about that.
No, I do.
Shucks.
He's right.
The vanity. Love the vanity. In this podcast, 3 friends speak of lesser-known cryptids with a healthy bit of skepticism and a lot of humor. This makes the boring classes I dread going to more fun.
Thank
Excellent.
you, Marty.
I'm happy that we can help Marty get through boring classes.
Absolutely. It's one of the hardest things to endure as a student.
Yeah,
The
nothing.
tedium.
Exactly.
Ugh.
The boring ass class.
Damn.
All right, so you know what? Be sure to leave the ratings and reviews, and we will read it on the show. And you know, if you are for some reason, if you leave us a review, but you're not in the United States, email us through our website or contact us on social media and let us know, because we only see the ratings and reviews for the U.S. store.
I didn't know that.
We don't see them for the other stores. So if like you're from Australia or Norway or Canada, hit us up. Let us know, because we only see them.
Instagrams, Twitters,
Yeah,
Facebooks.
all kinds of. We're everywhere that
Even
you want to
YouTube.
be. Yeah, YouTube. There you go. So this week we were talking about the bizarre case of the Kera UFO. In the summer of 1972, a group of Japanese middle schoolers had an experience that can only be called Spielberg-ian.
Boom.
When over the course of nearly a month, They had a series of encounters with a small silver UFO, which they managed not only to photograph, but actually capture repeatedly.
This is one of those things.
Wait a minute, it keeps escaping?
Yes.
Apparently? Because
That happened
What
that
the fuck?
I wish was part of my childhood. It is sort of like a Spielberg film come to life. But it's just an amazing series of encounters, and it's always been one of my favorite cases, so let's not waste any more time.
Let's do it.
On August 25th, 1972, in the Kera area of Kochi City, which is the capital of the Kochi Prefecture on the Shikoku Island of Japan. That's the background you need. A 13-year-old student named Michio Seo was on his way home from school when he caught sight of a relatively small, yet absolutely astonishing, metallic object hovering over a rice field. The awestruck Seo watched as the airborne object zipped back and forth above the waterlogged paddy. The odd apparatus resembled a dull silver hat with a flat bottom and a narrow lip. The curved dome atop the lip was relatively steep and level at the apex. Seo would later compare the object's precise in-flight movements to that of a bat making hairpin turns in pursuit of its prey. Although anxious, Seo succumbed to his curiosity and began to approach the miniature flying saucer, but before he could get too close, the object shot a blinding beam toward the teen. Startled and not wishing to further provoke the UFO or its possible occupants, Seo quickly fled the scene. As soon as he arrived in Kera, Seo hurriedly rounded up his 4 best friends, a la fucking Goonies, Hiroshi Mori, Yasuo Fujimoto, Katsuoka Kojima, and a buddy known only as Yuji. And he told them about his incredible encounter.
So, real quick, the size of this, they're saying, is the size of a hat.
It's about the size of a hat.
What type of hat? Are we talking like a derby? Are we talking like a Raiden hat? Are we talking like a 10-gallon hat?
Nope.
No, because this looks like it has a brim and a thing.
We will definitely post photographs because one of the great things about this case is, aforementioned, there are photographs. It's like a narrow brim. So think of it like a top hat. If it wasn't as steep, curved towards the top but flattened at the very top, and had a fairly narrow brim.
Yeah.
I would say we'll give
picturing.
specific measurements later in the story. I wish I had them right in the top of my head, but it seems to be about maybe 10 inches high by 7 inches wide, something like that.
All right.
I'll give the specifics there.
All right, cool.
But it's really relatively small.
All right, sweet.
Okay, so he gets his best friends, and he told them the deal. His pals were skeptical, though intrigued, and in the finest 80s kid flick tradition, wasted no time in forming a makeshift posse to go out and find the miniature flying dome. At approximately 6 p.m., Seo, Mori, Fujimoto, Kojima, and Yuji arrived at the rice field. The boys kept a steadfast vigil for the better part of an hour when, to the shock of everyone except Seo, the small object returned, hovering over the field approximately 60 feet away from the boys. The thrilled teens stared as the strange flying object moved in wondrous ways. Then, as the sun dipped low over the horizon and dusk began to settle in, the device suddenly began to emit a stunning array of pulsating, multicolored lights. So that's kind of fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't
Turn into like a disco ball or something.
you don't ever expect to go back and see what you saw earlier when you're
never,
alone.
never.
You're like, my friends are here. I'm going to look like an asshole. Nothing's going to show up. But not only does it show up, it's like putting on a full-on
It's a
fucking
fireworks
Saturday
display.
night
Yeah.
fucking fever display.
Yeah.
Staying alive, staying alive.
The astonished kids were delighted by the light show, and that's when one of the young men, no doubt bolstered by the pressure of his peers, began to stalk the erratically floating UFO.
We all have that friend.
Oh, yeah.
I might be that friend that's
Yeah.
going to stalk the UFO.
I've done douchey, foolhardy things just to look cool in my misspent youth. I think we all
I
have.
may have tried to pet a cub at one point.
bear cub?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Oh.
but there was other influences involved.
Yeah, there was marijuana involved. I mean, I'm sorry, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Marijuana.
Yeah, no,
See,
no
oh,
one
oh
can
my
prove it
God,
at
there was
this point.
alleged dope in my system.
Yeah.
Long since passed.
Yeah, long since. Never touched it since, ever.
As the intrepid, much like Mark, yet unidentified teen neared the object, it suddenly began to shimmer with a bluish hue and then emitted an ear-splitting pop, quote-unquote. This was all that was required to dissolve the youngsters' courage and send them sprinting back towards their homes.
You got to book it.
That sounds
Yeah,
like a
you're-
bottle
you-
rocket.
Yeah, it might be. The next day,
Kind of does, actually. Is this the best / worst fireworks display ever?
Yeah, it could be.
it would really suck. If it was a single bottle rocket and like a fucking frisbee hat, it's weird. All right. The next day, Seo, Mori, Fujimoto, Kojima, and Yuji reclaimed their resolve and would visit the field that day and every day following in the hopes of spying the tiny UFO. On September 4th, just over a week after the initial run-in, their patience finally paid off, which is another shock. Again, you don't expect this to keep happening. At about 9:30 p.m., the 5 young men once again came face to face with the silvery object flying nearly 3 feet above the field. The little UFO started glowing and began to zoom toward the boys, causing them to scatter once again and retreat with haste. Once home, the boys vowed to procure a camera and spend every waking moment they could staking out the field in hopes of finally capturing the object on film. So it's constantly threatening them.
So it's
like
not-
kids,
it's not
they're
really
getting
that-
away.
High. It never goes that high.
But is it really threatening
Right?
them?
Well,
I mean,
it's
just there.
It's making loud noises, putting on color displays, and flying towards them. So you're right. Maybe it's not threatening. Maybe it's just curious. For all we know, you're right. Threatening was the wrong adjective
it's not really like attacking them.
or verb or whatever the fuck.
It's just kind of
would
like doing its thing. It's popping and making noises and flashing lights, and they're just kind of like
popping and locking.
it's popping and locking, and they're just kind of like looking at it, trying to get it.
It was
Not
trying
to
to
get
establish a burgeoning breakdancing scene in the early
Yeah.
70s in Japan.
It did what it thought it could do best.
But who knows? But at this point, the kids are like, all right, we're at least going to get proof.
Some photos.
Their surveillance began the next evening, but the object did not return. The following night, however, would be a different story. On September 6th, the teens' vigilance paid off when on their way to the rice paddy, they spied the object lying on the ground in the middle of the field before them. The teenagers, now armed with a camera, sagely decided to snap a photo before they approached the downed craft. Once the flashbulb went off, the object on the ground began spinning and rapidly rose into the air. The unknown cameraman shot another photo just after its ascension. This is where accounts get a little murky, but what seems to have happened next is that the object emitted a light that was even brighter than the flashbulb's burst before once again plummeting to the ground. The still spinning object seemed to be either vainly attempting to rise or conversely burrow into the dirt when it suddenly stopped moving.
What?
So I don't know if the flashbulb, if it was like somehow impaired, damaged, and that the flashbulb burst startled it.
right.
This is going to open up a lot of questions that we're going to deal with at the end, whether or not this is piloted, whether this is remote control, whether this might be non-organic sentient life. It's hard telling at this point.
A firework.
A firework that reacts to flashbulb bursts
Skeptical Christopher
seems
is
highly
present.
unlikely. But Chris is allowed to have his
Same odds.
opinions.
Same odds.
I'm good right now. So basically, it seems like it tried to take off after the flashball burst, then fell to the ground, then tried to get up again, but just couldn't.
Yeah.
At this point, 14-year-old Hiroshi Mori cautiously moved towards the incapacitated flying saucer. The brave or foolhardy boy decided to bend over and lift the object up with his bare hands. As he did so, he claimed that he felt something moving inside of it. The photographer sagely felt that this was a moment worth commemorating and snapped a photo of Miro holding the UFO. Again, these are photos we all have access to, at least the reprinted ones from papers at the time. The boys marveled at their peculiar prize before Miro wrapped it in a plastic bag, placed it in his backpack, and took it home. Once there, the boys warily measured the object and declared it to be nearly 8 inches wide and 4 inches in height. I clearly got that shit backwards. So it's wider than it is tall.
That's fucking
so maybe more like
sweensy,
a
though, still.
derby. Oh yeah, it's
That
small.
is tiny.
Absolutely. The now inert UFO was said to weigh about 3 pounds. So it's light, it's small, and apparently moving of its own accord. They also discovered a series of concentric curves, 31 small holes, and 3 unique designs etched into the base of the object. The gang deemed that the etchings represented waves or clouds, a bird, or some sort of other flying object, and something they interpreted to be a budding flower. There was no visible propulsion system. Following their inspection, the boys repacked the object in plastic, and brought their puzzling find to the home of Yasuo Fujimoto. It was a good call, as Fujimoto's father, Matsuo, was at the time the director for the Center of Science Education in the city of Kochi. A man of education. A learned academician, if you will.
That's who you want to bring your weird shit to.
Yeah. And, good on those kids. Measuring, weighing.
Dude, the Japanese.
Yeah.
Again,
They're on the
fastidious.
Yeah,
They don't-
again,
you know-
bringing it to a
far
man of
superior
science.
education system. I mean, I didn't technically, I don't know if I ever told you guys, but I didn't really pass math. I was in
Overrated.
I was in a special.
Math is highly
I was in
overrated.
a special math class with one other kid who got in a tractor accident and was in a full body cast.
I don't even know what to do with this
and
right
then
now.
I kind of just got pushed through. I think the statute of limitations is up for this, but it was just like the lady gave me the answers and put me through.
Wait,
To
look,
this
what
day-
grade? What grade?
Like 12.
You were in the tractor injury math class?
Basically.
Like when you
Seriously?
when you were like a senior?
Yeah, I was a senior. Yeah.
What? So you were taking like pre-calc? That was pre-calc, wasn't it?
No, actually,
Probably it was.
because I was so terrible in math, but I was excellent in English and social studies because that was my jam.
Yeah.
So I was in BOCES doing computer tech, the computer sci tech thing,
yeah.
and then I was taking math. And they're just like, look, dude, your math is fucked. You're fucked. Like, you can't do shit in math. Here's a special math class to go to. And the dude I was with, Dan, I don't know if Dan's still with us or not, but shout out Dan. I hope he made it through that accident. I don't know if it did or not.
I certainly hope you recovered.
He ended up getting in a tractor accident, full body cast, and the teacher just basically pushed me through. And shout outs to that teacher for getting me out of high school, because if it wasn't for her,
math, I thought was optional. Like I didn't have to take math as a senior, so I didn't.
I failed.
My course was,
math.
I think, math, science, something. So I had to take 3 years of math, 3 years of science.
Yeah,
Yeah, me
failed.
too.
I failed math enough times that they were like, "You need to do something.
You need to do some kind of math.
you need
What
to
is
do
this shape?
something."
Triangle. You're A plus.
Basically.
2 plus 3 is.
Can you show us a pentagon? And I could not.
You could not.
I could not. No.
Oh,
No.
God.
But thank you to that teacher for passing me my math.
Bless her heart.
And that was my story to get us through Rob getting his beer. We're back.
Jeez, all
we're
right.
back to the UFO.
Dad doesn't know what math is. Continue.
I'm terrible at math.
All right, so these kids were sage enough to bring this to Mr. Fujimoto. Following his brief once-over, the object was returned to Mori's backpack, but much to the chagrin of all involved, it was discovered missing just a day later. This would not be the last time the mysterious object would be seen or recovered, for that matter. So I want to state that later on, and I have this probably later in the article, but I think it's important to mention here, that Fujimoto would regret, the senior Fujimoto, that he did not spend more time looking at this thing. He actually became very fascinated by this case as it went on. But when his kids first brought it, he was just
like,
sort of, he was
yeah.
doing his science, just like every
Look
dad
where we
in a
found some
1950s
metal-ish looking
sci-fi
thing.
film.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh yeah. Oh, all right. Yeah. Whatever.
Nice. Yeah.
And he
So
just dismissed
he had it, and then it got away.
Well, he looked at it, didn't really focus on it much, thought it was
Right.
kind of interesting, shook it around, gave it a
Right.
quick once-over, handed it back to his kid, and then the following day it disappeared.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This is going to be a reoccurring pattern.
Yeah, no, this is a Spielberg movie completely so
completely.
far.
It sounds-
100%.
Hence the
Is
Spielberg-ian
it, what is like batteries not included or
designation.
something
Oh, there's
like that?
elements of that, I
Yeah,
think,
okay.
definitely. Possibly, anyway. Over the course of the next 2 weeks, Seo, Mori, Fujimoto, Kojima, and Yuji all claim to have seen the same or identical objects in flight on at least 6 more occasions. Fujimoto himself saw it 3 times. The gang even managed to capture a second time, but the object disappeared under mysterious circumstances yet again. The boys, trying to predict when the object would next appear, deduced that the unifying factor in all of their sightings was the fact that they never seemed to occur on rainy days. Again, Japanese kids.
Oh,
Master detectives.
Far superior education
Good weather
system,
UFOs.
one that I was not involved in.
This, they surmised, was due to the fact that the object, assuming that it was somehow sentient, or its tiny occupants, were afraid of water. Bearing this in mind, the gang formulated a plan to capture the device. On September 19th, the group once again returned to the now notorious rice paddy to try and detain the mystifying UFO. This time the boys were armed with, I shit you not, a bucket of runoff water and some tattered rags. As luck would have it, they found the device sitting motionless on the ground once again.
Now, a rice paddy, though, isn't that
moist.
It's in water,
Yeah.
right?
Generally speaking, yeah.
Because the rice is on top of the water. It grows there,
So
right?
I
don't
or
know.
is there dry? I mean, I've always seen them like the people planting, and it seems like horrible on the back, like in calf deep water, plunging the stalks of rice into the muck. But I don't know. Maybe it was an off season.
Am I thinking of cranberries?
Well, cranberries are also grown in a bog.
Shit.
Multiple things are grown underwater, but I've always seen rice being planted in water.
Yeah.
I'm calling it like
I mean, it doesn't come from a tree, so
No, the
clearly
notorious
it comes
rice
from
tree.
a bog.
Yeah,
the
the basmati fern.
notorious rice
I don't.
tree.
Maybe it just needs a shitload of first, and then they don't like.
I
They
just
just
don't
let
know.
it
We're
go
not rice
down?
farmers. That's not what we do.
No,
we
this-
talk about monsters.
This
and
is something
aliens.
you think we would.
Yeah,
you know,
if you're a rice farmer, let us know.
we get mad kudos for research, and we just disappointed you right here.
Totally.
So they're in this fucking patty that's either evidently dry or not as moist as it ought to be.
All right.
I assume.
Good
Either way,
water,
the UFO is
yeah.
motionless on the ground, and the kids are armed with runoff water and rags.
I like what they're armed with. They got
Yeah.
a bucket of runoff and they got some rags.
The group hurriedly. Hurriedly. How the fuck do you say that word now? Hurriedly.
Hurriedly.
The group quickly covered the object.
That's better.
Better.
With
much
rags
better.
and poured the filthy greenish water in the bucket over it. They then turned the object over and started to fill the perforations at the base with the remainder of the liquid, apparently unconcerned with the fact that their actions may well have drowned any
That's what I'm
occupants
thinking.
inside.
They're waterboarding the tiny
They're
little.
fucking-
Yeah.
Now they're doing it like American kids.
I know-
Finally.
We don't know you when you're foreign. We're gonna waterboard you.
Enough of their science and measurements.
God,
Yeah,
I know.
seriously.
Now they're fucking
Jesus.
drowning the thing.
Well,
Just imagine being in the cockpit of that thing and these goddamn kids are tossing water on you.
What the fuck are you doing?
We're gonna get the lights ready. Here we go.
Or at the very
Bottle
least, they could have
rockets.
damaged the device. As soon as the liquid entered the UFO, it began to emit a deafening noise that the boys compared to a cicada buzzing only thousands of times louder.
Oh, like a security measure.
It could be, or
Yeah.
a warning, or something else. Then the interior of the object began to glow. So not the
Oh,
exterior this
alright.
time. I guess light was coming through the holes.
okay.
The youngsters
Progression,
were
not good.
abruptly struck with the notion that the object might try to retaliate to what it almost certainly would have perceived as an attack, and they started to back away from the stationary
You
UFO.
think after you tried to drown the occupants, the micro occupants of this thing?
Yeah,
Like-
or if the thing is sentient itself and you're
Yeah.
covering it in its fucking
It's gonna pull a
worst toxin ever,
It's
water.
gonna pull like a
Yeah, I
phantasm,
don't like-
and it's gonna stick you in the head with them fucking prongs. So
They should have got like a bird cage or something
like to
to keep it in.
incarcerate it.
Like it got away, but it didn't say they put it in anything.
Right.
It just
well, they put it in a
a
plastic bag.
A plastic bag is not
yeah,
yeah,
the thickest of plastic bags. Perhaps
your basic earthen creature can most likely get out of a bag if it wanted to. Not like a worm because they're fucking pointless. But
right.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, they're a
like
waste
a
of
mantis
wood,
could kung fu its fucking way.
that's true.
probably.
A mole would burrow through the plastic.
Yeah, yeah.
A mole.
A rat will gnaw through it.
So here's where they're continuing their downward slide from the studious use that they once were regarded to the sloppy kids that they naturally were. As they backed away from the UFO, they began pelting it with stones.
When in doubt, throw rocks, dude.
Yeah,
that's
no,
what I
I mean, it's
do.
classic.
devolves.
I mean, that's Old
Everything
Testament.
devolves.
That's what I do.
We're the aggressors, but now like, oh, we gotta
Yeah.
defend ourselves because we're jerks.
I think it's just a part of our nature is that when you're put in that corner and you have nothing else to do, you just grab a stone and you throw it.
I mean, they covered this fucking poor thing that's just laying there in water. I know they want to keep... Listen, if I was a kid, and I'm part of this expedition, and again, I fantasized about having things like this happen, like Chris said, and you said, and I said, it's Spielberg-ian as fuck. We've all watched fantasy films and wanting it to happen. I would do what I could to capture it.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
don't know. I think the water theory was a little shaky to begin with, to be
yeah,
honest.
but you can't blame them. I mean, they made the attempt.
No, I mean, I get it. I get it.
And
Though I
they're
would,
solid in their science,
well,
allegedly.
not really, because if it's an electronic device, the water's going to short it. If it's sentient, you might drown it. If it's got occupants, you might kill them.
Yeah, no.
There's
I
a
would
lot
just
of but they're kids.
Figured out a better way to keep it. So I would not have said, "Hey guys, who's got a baggie?"
Am I the only one that would have hit it with a bat when I first saw it?
I think so. I
Yeah.
don't think I would have.
Just making sure.
Get a
I would want it to
box,
be
something to put it in.
Yeah, I
if
probably
it
would.
wasn't doing anything, you put it in
my
a box.
I
or-
think my first initial instinct, and it's terrible, and it might speak for me as a person, but I would probably just try to hit it with a stick or a bat.
It doesn't speak for you as a person so much as humanity as a race. Sadly, I think that fucking protocol has been the default of the human race from word go.
Am I like the focal the focal level point for that, where it's just like Mark is going to go to base human instinct and hit it with a stick?
I think in this case,
All right,
absolutely.
Because even the stones, like I understand, like from our perspective, stones not a good idea, but if you actually put yourself in that situation, we're going to throw stones. I'm almost 40 years old. I still throw stones at shit.
I don't think I would.
Where do you throw stones at?
No, really.
Hornets?
Yeah, at kids?
I thought you said kids.
No, I still throw stones at shit.
Oh, God. Well, don't throw stones at hornets either. That's a bad call.
No, like far away hornets.
Actually did read.
Oh, yeah, distant
That's
hornets.
why it's
Yeah.
a missile weapon, Rob.
Yeah.
You're not 3 feet away going. You're chucking them from
My
like.
aim
I still throw
sucks.
stones. Yeah.
No, all right.
My stone throwing aside.
They're chucking stones at this poor thing that they almost drown. At this point, the object stops moving.
Okay.
No, they fucked it.
The once flying object remained earthbound, and the gang reclaimed their potentially extraterrestrial quarry. Once back at Kojima's house, the young men looked through the tiny holes and noticed what appeared to be a plethora of miniature mechanisms, levers, and weird drawings. So through the perforations in the bottom,
They
they're seeing-
Dude, it's like
Saw-
a dollhouse.
it's odd.
Yeah,
but
but-
it's 8 by 4 inches. I mean, it's tiny.
This is 72?
72.
Okay, so G.I. Joe wasn't around.
I don't know what bearing that would have on it anyway.
I used to think it was a modified toy.
Terradrome.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
modified Terradrome.
Yeah.
Come on, you guys love the Terradrome.
That's
I
not the
do love-
question.
that's a great place
Yeah,
set.
that's still partially a theory.
All right. Ian, we'll get to
For
all our
me.
theories, and we'll get to other suggestions
Dude,
made
it's
by
1972 Japan.
who knows.
We all know about the Japanese
Come on.
toys, and they're far superior to ours.
Yes,
They've always been.
Yes.
true.
Tsunami Nation.
Though, if we're going to take this story at face value thus far, I don't think any of us can assume 1972 toy technology, even in the great land of the rising sun, could have risen to the level of what the performance of this thing is.
I don't
True.
know.
All right,
It's
all
not-
right, we'll get
It's
to
not
it.
out of the question.
The intrepid youths then took more pictures and attempted to open the device by inserting a wire into one of the holes and manipulating it. Eventually, they hung the device upside down by the wire. Gravity pulled on the top of the dome, resulting in a slight separation between the top and bottom sections of the object. This revealed what the boys referred to as, and this is a quote, complicated electronic equipment inside the item, as well as an unidentified viscous material. This is my speculation at this point. Could this have been the liquefied remains of the pilot who, much like Oz's
Rob.
Wicked Witch of the West, melted upon contact with the H2 motherfucking O? Could it have been? I'm asking. I'm not stating.
Miniature corpse goop. Thanks for listening.
That's my favorite Morbid Angel song.
Necrotic
Corpse goop.
necrotic goo that was once a sentient pilot.
Sorry.
Black metal eulogy aside.
The heaviest of face.
Or maybe the liquid was something else. I don't know.
Yeah, it was oil.
Look,
I'm just pushing
saying,
some theories.
Deicide has a new record coming out. Miniature
Miniature
space or miniature corpse goo might be their single. So
Oh, okay. The lads then, and this is going to make Mark proud. Their next move is really going to be right up Mark's alley.
do they pull a Mark and just get a can opener and stab
Did
it?
they just dragon punch the shit out of it?
Do they stomp it into the fucking ground because they
Oh,
don't
curb
understand
stomp.
A
it?
romper stopper?
Do they fucking stomp because they don't understand it?
The lads then, with the dubious
don't
logic
understand
inherent to all middle school boys, attempted to see how strong the exterior shell of the object was by pummeling it with a fucking hammer. So,
That's what Mark would do.
save
Yeah.
that.
There you go.
Oh,
We call that the old hammered, smashed face.
Yes, indeed. well
That's for all
said.
you Campbell Corpse fans out there.
And
Thank
I
you
know there's a
much.
lot of them. They discovered that even the thinnest parts of the light metal remained unblemished no matter how hard they hit it. That's pretty cool.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty.
This seems to be a fairly common trait of materials recovered at alleged UFO crash sites. The
True.
Roswell thing had that
Yeah.
memory metal that you
It did.
squinched it up and then
Yep.
unfolded, like smooth, as if it wasn't
Mylar.
crushed up. Yeah, Mylar can do that. Tinfoil cannot, however.
No, it cannot.
Extraterrestrial.
Are you trying to assert that aluminum foil is a technology we gained from the aliens, good sir?
I'm not asserting anything, though I'm pretty seriously implying it with the tone of my voice. Reynolds Wrap cannot be of this earth. All right.
Much like the octopus of the sea.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Scientists calling octopus aliens.
That's
Have you
a
read
whole
that?
thing. Yeah, I
That-
did.
we'll deal with
Yeah,
that at some point in the
whatever.
future.
You know what though? What the only thing side note that's cool about that? Cthulhu confirmed.
Oh yeah.
There you
Done.
go.
Lovecraft.
Interdimensional Cthulhu confirmed.
Profit.
Fuck yeah.
At this point, the boys decided to try yet another scientifically suspect experiment by putting the UFO into the oven to see what kind of temperatures it could withstand.
Fuck's sake.
Wow. All right. So they're going next level with
Oh,
this.
yeah.
They took the
Okay, this went from Spielberg to Saw.
It
Yeah.
Really fucking quick.
It did.
I know. Spielberg and Eli
This
Roth in
fucking
a
turned
fucking
into,
minute.
this turned into like a fucking mortician record in a fucking heartbeat. All of a sudden, they're like
fuck's
taking a
sake,
hammer
man.
to it, and then so they're putting heat to it.
Now they're putting heat to
Oh,
it.
now it's not a microwave, so we're not dealing with radiation. We're just dealing with a standard stove, a standard
Convection oven, I
1972
assume.
stove.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Oven.
Well,
An
if,
oven.
if the occupants weren't fucking corpse goo, they're going to be
Oven baked corpse goo.
oven baked. I can't even do it. I want to see the vocals, but I can't. I can't do it. God damn it.
Before it got to the temperatures that the boys were hoping to achieve, however, Kojima's mother, Eiko Katsuka, wisely put the kibosh on the whole experiment.
Thank God for mom. Thank God for mom.
Oh, she came in and maybe saved what was left of the viscous necrotic goo that was once the pilot.
Yeah, I figured that at that point, though, that,
No, he's probably fucking done.
yeah.
She also refused to allow them to store it in her refrigerator, which the boys believed might prevent the UFO from escaping once again due to the chilly temperatures.
Good idea. Good
I mean,
idea.
all right, yeah, I can see.
Or,
I
you know,
mean,
like Chris's idea, bird cage or any kind of type of cage.
a cage.
A cage.
Box.
The gang then, a box, a cardboard box.
Fucking
A
box.
fucking box, yeah.
The
Seriously.
gang then
a
came
sack.
to the fairly sage conclusion that the device was likely some kind of remote-controlled surveillance mechanism of unknown origin.
Some sort of drone, perhaps?
That's, well, I don't know if
Well,
drone
it's-
was in the lexicon of the common student at that point, but yes, in the parlance of our time,
Yeah.
a drone.
Nice.
It was then that they decided it was time to reveal their cherished mystery mechanism to their classmates the following week.
Show and tell?
hmm
Nice.
But before putting it away for the night, they wrapped it in additional rags under the naive impression that it would prevent the thing from leaking any atomic radiation. So,
What?
Wait,
no, let's just establish this.
See?
Wait a minute.
In
What?
case you're wondering, the water was to incapacitate it because
Godzilla.
the thing or its occupants feared water, but the rags they brought,
Keep the
aforementioned
radiation out.
that's what's going to keep you from getting the cancers at the night when you're sleeping next to the irradiated fucking
Yeah.
alien craft.
I don't think that's how
because
radiation
rags
works.
prevent. That's what they covered Chernobyl in. Save the day.
Is this what happened with
Read your books.
Is this what happened with the Kyoto? Is that how the whole Kyoto incident happened?
Someone took the rag off.
Yeah,
Ah,
those bastards.
facts. Son of a bitch. All right.
I'm not. I mean, I can. You're Japanese. You have an undue reason to be afraid of atomic radiation. I respect that.
Yeah.
But thinking rags are going to prevent the spread of rads, you are making a grave miscalculation.
Rags don't prevent shit from doing shit.
Dude, it's a big
Unless you're
movement.
And that's
cutting up
my
pieces of
rags prevent
you want to
rats.
grow on.
yeah.
That's the movement.
Rags prevent rats.
Rads.
Oh, rads. Yeah.
Yeah, it was on posters everywhere when we were kids. You
Yeah.
don't remember?
No. It's
The object was then given to Seo and Mori for safekeeping while the rest returned home for dinner and chores. The young watchmen, feeling that the object was secure in the room with them, relaxed for an evening of comic book consumption and the anticipation of the notoriety that would greet them and their cohorts the following
what
Monday.
do you think they were reading in fucking?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Sweet
they were
ass
reading?
manga.
Maybe they were reading that sweet, like, remember that old 60s Batman comic that they did in
Oh,
Japan?
when he fought
Mr. Death or
Mr.
something?
Death, yeah, the dude in like the cool skull
yeah.
outfit
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
Let's just, for our own
What-
hopes and dreams, think they were doing that. But there was probably some cool
I mean,
traditional
70.
manga.
Hey, what was around
72.
there? Was like Shonen
Kamen
Jump
Rider?
around there?
Was Kamen Rider around? Was Harlock?
It was in the form
Harlock
of manga,
wasn't
I
around
think
then,
it
was
was.
he? No, Captain Harlock was
Well,
in the 80s.
the original series was 71 or 2. So
Because
yeah.
Gundam was the 80s, Harlock was the 80s.
I think we're going down a geek hole
I
that
think
might
we
be
are.
just
Yeah,
too
yeah,
deep
yeah.
for
Can we just
everyone
feel
but
like
us.
they were even like the Fantastic Four?
Do you really need them to be reading American Marvel comics?
Yeah, that's true. I'm trying to push my.
But there's still
I'm
there's
pushing my
plenty Godzilla's
Eurocentrism
around.
on them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
To
plenty
fuel
of
the
Godzillas,
imagination.
yeah.
They're reading sweet comics.
I
We
want
know
to
that
read
much.
cool comics in the 70s, but I can't because I wasn't alive.
I know. It's tough.
I wasn't even alive.
Oh, you weren't 72. None of us were. We were all in the guff.
No, you made it. What month
I
was
was
that?
born
Were you alive?
July 14th,
Oh, so you
1972.
were barely there. You were barely there.
I
Yeah,
am
you were
the
barely.
seasoned
Yeah, you were
senior.
sort of a baby.
Yeah, no, I made it through half of 72.
Yeah, you did.
Maybe it was me in that
Do you remember
fucking
anything?
device.
Could have been.
Yeah, I remember some fuckface pouring water on me and hitting me
Yeah,
with a
there you
hammer
go.
before I was reborn in
Yep.
a human body.
Yeah.
So you were
Loser.
born in 72?
Yeah.
I wouldn't lie about it.
Okay, and then I came along 8 years later.
Yes,
Yeah.
you did.
Weird. So you were already like a fucking grown ass kid playing with shit now when I was born.
Yeah.
I love you. You're the best.
Yeah, it's true. I had mad Star Wars action figures when you were just a gestating zygote.
Yeah, it's true.
I remember Reagan.
I remember Carter.
I have vague recollections. Of
I
Carter.
remember Reagan, sort of. I don't remember it a lot.
Well, he was around for a while. I mean,
Yeah.
early Reagan, like
yeah.
being elected.
When the rest of the group
Mark's
returned
young.
later that evening, when the rest of the group returned later that evening to check on their discovery, they were all dismayed to discover that beneath the pile of rags there was nothing to be found, except for the
See,
radiation
now,
that the
what
rags
the
had seeped
fuck?
up. The kids are sitting there reading their comic books. They have two friends watching out for it while the other kids have to go do their household
You
shit.
can't trust kids.
I know, but you
Yeah.
have to assume
But they
that
were.
it's
It was
gonna
in
be safe.
it was in a bag before, right? I'm assuming a sealed bag.
It wasn't a sealed
in
bag
a
before.
fat sack and escaped.
Well,
I
yeah,
don't know why I
because
said fat sacking. But they just think a couple of rags are going to keep it from fucking getting away.
Was that New England, Chris? Is that what
I
I
don't
just
know.
heard?
Well, maybe the rags were moistened and they assumed the water would
It
incapacitate
was just it was so heavy you couldn't fucking get out of the wet rags.
I don't know.
I mean, these kids are on the right track. They got the right idea.
No, they were.
well, for
somewhere.
every good idea they have, they seem to have like two really shitty ones.
But they're kids. I mean,
yeah, no, I get it. But they're teenagers.
as an adult, I have, for every good idea I have 6 bad ideas.
That's
And
true.
I'm a grown-ass man.
But these are Japanese kids and we expect better of
That's
them.
true, we do.
We're
We do.
sloppy. They're
are.
fucking, they got
We
it on the
are.
ball.
We are a sloppy bunch.
All right. After a fruitless search, the boys reached the inescapable conclusion that their mini saucer had once again flown the coop. A few hours later, Kojima and Mori were playing ball at Mori's house. Kojima lunged over the fence pursuing the ball and, much to his surprise and delight, stumbled across the still immobile UFO. Kojima and Mori swiftly absconded back into the house with their recovered saucer. At this juncture, the comrades shrewdly decided that they should mark the silver dome with paint, lest it pull another disappearing act. This would be to confirm that they were actually capturing the same UFO over and over again, rather than disparate, though indistinguishable, machines. Smart, though I don't think the paint's going to necessarily help them hold on to it. The boys had lost and found the object so many times by this point, they naturally assumed that if it vanished, it would again turn up near the rice field or in one of their backyards. The final incident regarding the Kera UFO occurred on the evening of September 22nd when the crew gathered for a bike ride into Kochi City. It was decided in advance that they would all take turns carrying the device, which they no longer left unattended. To further prevent its escape, Mori determined that the UFO would be sealed in a plastic bag full of water,
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Jesus Christ.
which they continued to assume had some sort of restraining effect on the apparatus. As if that weren't enough, I know, the now obsessive youths also tied a piece of string from the
Oh, yeah.
knot to the water-filled bag. I'm sorry. As if that weren't enough, the obsessive youths now tied a piece of string from the knot on the water-filled bag to the wrist of whoever was carrying it to ensure that it would never escape again. The bag containing the UFO was then placed in a duffel bag and inserted into the bicycle basket of the first carrier, and the gang set off. The bag switched from rider to rider as they tore through the city until it ended up in the basket of its last caretaker, whose name was not revealed.
As they're riding, they're transferring.
They're just stopping and switching it up. I don't know why.
This
I'm not sure.
This harkens back to Shin Godzilla with the overly complicated plan to incapacitate said Godzilla.
Maybe it's the Japanese way. I think you're right.
Is this the bureaucracy bleeding into the kids?
Maybe they're all thinking like, only I have the power to maintain the saucer's incarceration.
What does it changing it to a different rider in a bag full of water with it tied to your wrist?
It's a bag full of water tied to a rope to your wrist inside of a sealed duffel bag. So let's not forget the duffel bag barrier. That's a significant addition to the security
measures. I think,
measures.
Again, Chris is dead on with birdcage. Or some form of, I don't know, like a muskrat cage.
Well, I'm thinking
Do they have like rodent traps?
I'm sure. Though I don't know if they have muskrat cages, but why not? Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Overly complicated, but solid plan.
The buddies continued their journey until they neared a local bicycle repair shop. At that moment, the final rider claimed that he felt his wrist, the one attached via string to the bag, wrenched with immense force, nearly yanking him off his bike.
Oh, it's taken off.
He instantly shouted out to his friends, who skidded to a halt ahead of him. The boys frantically opened the satchel and untied the string and the knots on the plastic bag, but when they looked inside, they found that, even though the knots had not been tampered with, the tiny UFO was nowhere to be found. The boys would never see the object again. So, sealed bag, sealed duffel bag. It can tell. Well, that kind of seemed like the way it was. It was in a backpack once.
Not really, though. Like, I mean,
well, rags. But if it was in a sealed room, I assumed they didn't have like a wide open, unscreened window that they were both ignoring, and it just flew out from beyond the rags.
Is this one of the
fireplaces?
That is one of the original photos of the thing.
That's the original one too.
Yeah.
There. Okay. Huh.
So here's the thing. There's been speculation that it could be anything from a child's potty device to a watering can filled with radio components. But
well, if those are real pictures of it, then those look like none of those things.
None of those things. I agree. And the scientists that looked at it, the one that didn't pay enough attention.
The picture that we're looking at, that's not. I mean,
it's odd. They're really detailed photographs.
The photos are pretty good.
Like, I mean, I've heard people say like it's a salt and pepper shaker or something. It is a unique thing, but the photographs are no joke. They're thorough. The kids really thoroughly documented
they actually got a pretty solid picture of it.
All right, we're gonna dip into a few more things really quick, and then we're gonna wrap this up. In case people are thinking, all right, there's these 5-6 kids, whatever it is, and they're seeing it, and this is interesting. Maybe it's a advanced hoax, whatever. There was another event with another witness, a little girl at this point, that happened 4 years later. So we'll deal with this really quick. On the evening of June 6th, 1976, just 4 years after the Kera incident, a 9-year-old girl named Sachiko Oyama from the village of Agawa went outside to find her pet cat when she noticed a small yellow luminous object floating in the eastern sky. Oyama walked into the middle of the street to afford herself a better view. It was then that she saw the unusual object descend in a nearby wooded grove. Overcome by curiosity, the young girl followed the UFO to the edge of the tree line. It was then that the object allegedly hit a tree and proceeded to silently land on the pavement near her feet, at which point it emitted a hissing sound. Not the greatest piloting move ever, but yeah.
Yeah, not good.
Oyama would later describe the object as resembling a silver hat that was about 7 inches in diameter. A familiar description, to say the least.
Interesting.
The courageous girl bent over and touched the object, which she claimed was covered with a slimy substance. Dead alien. That stuck to her finger. Like the boys who encountered the virtually identical object in Kera, Oyama suddenly found herself overwhelmed by fear. She turned and began to run for the safety of her home, but when she glanced over her shoulder, she noticed that the downed device had started to glow yellow once again. Oyama watched in disbelief as the UFO rose, spun counterclockwise 3 times, then shot skyward and out of view. This unique case remained largely unknown to the general public until, or these cases I should say, May of 2004 when UFO Comics published an illustrated retelling of the strange series of events. This manga introduced the Kera event and the second event to a new generation of UFO enthusiasts, garnering it a cult following not only in Japan but across the world. Due to the buzz surrounding the Kera encounter in 2007, a full 35 years after the events in question, Shinichiro Namiki, the director of the Japan Space Phenomenon Society, reopened the investigation. The head of the JSPS Osaka chapter, Kazuo Hayashi, was sent to speak with the remaining eyewitnesses and confirmed that they all maintained the veracity of their original accounts. Hayashi also confirmed that the then 40-year-old Oyama still stood by her story in 2007. It was then that Hayashi put forth the hypothesis that these flying objects were actually interdimensional vehicles that had temporarily lost their way after slipping into our realm. Whether these objects were interstellar, interdimensional, or terrestrial technology of unknown origin, the fact remains that these devices, and these are just 2 points and we'll end it on, managed to fly with precision without the use of any recognizable propulsion system, and 2, appeared to be capable of evasive maneuvers and resisted every attempt made to incarcerate it, and even displayed a desire to defend itself by utilizing brilliant lights and loud noises. This indicates that they were either controlled by unidentified intelligences or, bizarre as it may seem, may have been sentient, non-organic life forms. And there we wrap it up. Those are my two theories.
Okay.
But what cannot be denied is that they did, if you're taking this at face value,
Right.
these things flew without any reasonable propulsion
objectively,
system.
yes, they flew.
And did like hairpin maneuvers like a bat pursuing insects, at least according to Seo early on. And even the other eyewitnesses, they saw it try to evade them. It was able to emit different lights, even though there was no obvious lighting mechanism on it. Make sounds. So there's a lot. There's a lot of questions to ask with this.
Well,
a lot.
Unlike most things we cover, we do have photos.
Yeah, quite a few of them.
Which is interesting. Yeah. We're looking at the photos now via Google, so I'll have to have you let me know which ones. Is this an OG original?
That is an original photo. Yes.
Man, that is weird.
It is an odd thing.
That's really.
It looks like something forged on Earth. Really, it doesn't intrinsically seem extraterrestrial.
No, it doesn't. It looks. If you just saw the front of that without the back and it was mounted, it looks like a speaker.
It does.
An old speaker that could have been mounted.
Except those odd etchings on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it does look like a silver hat,
but
flat on top,
it
like
really
an
does.
arched sort of dome.
It's more like
a brim.
more like a pilgrim hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
That looks like a pilgrim hat.
that's
It
fair.
does, yeah.
That is a fair assessment.
It's weird, but it sort of like to your point though. It does kind of look like a speaker, like
Sort of.
But if it could fly, and it could emit lights and sounds, that to me takes like that. I think is a replica.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm making sure. All right.
What I can't understand is, assuming it can do these things, how could it do these things? And the options seem to be pretty simple. It's either an intelligently controlled drone, though it seems to me to be much in advance to what could have been done in 72. And even now, because if you saw something like that, it doesn't have propellers, it doesn't have wings, it doesn't have an engine that's evident.
Yeah.
It's certainly not aerodynamic.
Yeah.
Or it's being piloted by someone or something.
Yeah,
I can't make
that's
out.
probably the last thing.
I kind of agree.
At most, it's something controlled by something.
Like a probe or something.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
And the third and the most absurd in some ways, going back to your batteries not included reference, a sentient non-organic entity.
Yeah, I don't.
There's no evidence for any of them, but you have to think, how could this thing fly?
It did react though,
and it reacted to the people approaching.
Well, that's not.
But no, Chris is right. That's not necessarily an indication of a sentient.
Well, no, that's not necessarily. You don't know that's what that reaction was.
Right. It's true.
You know what I mean? You can say everyone can say that it flew.
All right. So
objectively, but you can't say that that's the reason what that did.
Let's start this off with these kids hoaxing it.
Okay.
Kinda.
It's entirely possible, but
it is. But I mean, it seems like it's a lot to do.
Well,
what would be the reason behind it? I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, If you're going to hoax it, what ultimately is your end goal?
I guess maybe, all right, notoriety.
Okay.
Say you want to be seen. I mean, there's probably photographs of them published in papers at the time. Now, granted, the story didn't get a ton of traction until decades later in the 21st century.
Right.
But I'm sure it got a little bit of play. And so kids just, they make a conspiracy. They're like, let's get famous. We'll say that it did all these things. We'll confirm it with each other. And then it keeps disappearing. Therefore, we never really need to attribute it or give it to authorities. That would make sense. But here's the weird thing to me. All of these kids, 40 years later,
are still with it.
None of them are like saying, oh, my God, I forgot all about that. Yeah, we were just fucking around.
Yeah.
It was just
they're
dumb
still
shit.
sticking
Or
to it.
Seo is the one that came up with the idea, and he told the rest of us. And, if one or two of them wanted to maintain the ruse, but all of them, I find that to be pretty fucking dubious.
It is a possibility, but...
It is a possibility.
Much to your point, though, that many years later they're still sticking to it.
And you also have to include Oyama's sighting, the little girl who saw something 4 years later.
Yeah.
Now, you could also say she read an account in a newspaper or somebody told her about it, and she was
followed suit,
faking her own thing. But of course, you can always say that.
Right.
Skeptics are always, and I don't mean skeptics in the sense of people with a hearty sense of,
Skepticism.
incredulity, skepticism. Yes, people that are like, all right, let's look at the facts. I mean, like debunkers.
Right.
They're always going to find a way to shit on it and be like, no, it can't be. It's a liar telling a lie to a bunch of other liars lying town lie.
Yeah.
And fine.
Whatever. Liar country.
But
Yeah,
the fact that this little girl saw the same thing, and that all of these people, including the little girl, 40 years later, were like, no, this
That's
is
the
legitimate
deal.
shit that we saw. To me, at least, adds a note of veracity to the proceedings.
All right.
So
there's
the idea for a
coverage
hoax.
and a hoax.
I don't think so myself, but there it is. So then it becomes, what is this thing? If it had mechanisms that could make it fly, and I think that's why the Fujimoto, I think the elder scientist, was like, shit, I really wish I had looked at this more thoroughly.
Yeah.
We would know. But the photographs don't show anything.
No, not at all. But
Like the dots on the bottom.
the
I mean, this
photographs
thing looks
are
heavy.
They're interesting.
No,
though.
I feel like that adds a new thing. Like once they say they looked in, they saw some like a dollhouse type thing. I'm
they
just
said
like,
they saw levers, mechanisms, and drawings etched on the inside.
Yeah.
That's specifically
along
what they
with
said.
the goo.
And yes, viscous
I
goo.
don't know what
This is
levers
good.
could be. I mean, if they just saw some stuff that looked like levers, if they didn't know electronics,
No,
Right.
it could be any sort
You're right.
of.
Your
could just
mind goes
It
to
could be
like
circuits and capacitors, and you would think it's like a lever or something.
Sure.
So yeah.
But even if this thing was legitimately full of circuits, capacitors, boards,
Sure, how does
whatever,
it-
how the fuck is it flying?
right. How
Yeah.
does it
Like
would-
that part doesn't make a
potentially
lick of sense.
flying?
It can't fly. This thing can't fucking fly.
No, it would be some. I mean, there's nothing saying that it's not being piloted by something.
No.
Well, it
I
doesn't,
mean-
well, regardless of there's being something in it, how is it doing what it's doing? Is
That's
the question.
Yeah.
Unless it is literally technology
That we
beyond the pale,
Completely don't understand.
where it's either like electromagnetism or fuck all knows what, some level of physics we can't wrap our head around,
Right.
that whoever created this piece of technology does understand, and so they can use it to make its 3 pounds become lighter than air, and they can use it to make
Yeah.
the shell actually illuminate and send off beams of light and fuck with physics in general.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the light could be coming from anywhere.
Yeah,
Like,
nothing. That looks like dull
Yeah,
pewter.
it's right, it's
Black and
just
white
solid.
photos,
It's-
granted, but still.
No, I mean you can see from the top that there's nothing. It's solid.
Yeah.
There's nowhere for light. I mean, I suppose.
Where would it?
Like I don't know the force it would take from like just a fan in something to make something float even a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
I have no idea.
I mean,
I'm
but-
not a physicist. I'm not saying that's what it is.
No.
I'm just
Right.
in my mind. I'm trying to think what on earth could have been in this thing.
I understand the road you're going down, but the tiny
No,
perforations
I'm just saying.
in that small
Don't yell at me.
segment. I mean, the perforations are just. We had a specific
No,
number.
it's weensy. It's 7 inch and 4 inches.
Yeah,
across.
it's like
right.
It's
and 7
four-
on top. Or
it's 4x8. I think.
Yeah, I think it was 4
right?
tall,
Right.
8 wide.
No, it was 8 tall, 4 wide.
No, I think the
Wasn't
other
it
way.
weird? Like
I thought it was
a
weird too. I thought it was
like
4.
a weird
I thought
top hat or
I thought it was
something?
8 too, but 8 tall too. Where are those other pictures that have not that view? Because it looked like the hat was really tall. See, and it looks like the bottom. See how weensy the bottom is compared to.
Yeah, it's.
But that, I mean, still doesn't look like 4x8, but they look like they're almost the same size.
Either way,
angle, but
the little square that
it's
has
like 1
the
or 2
holes,
inches,
yeah,
maybe
exactly.
at most.
That no matter what kind of a fan device you have blowing through those little holes, it would not be enough to lift it. I think even an inch.
I mean, in 72, like
In
what,
72, probably not.
what type of RC car tech are we talking about?
Even in the land of the ultimate technology, which is Japan, even though they're always a few years ahead.
I'm not sure if they were that evolved.
I don't know.
Unless this is something where, and I'm totally going off in a fucking rabbit hole,
Sure.
skeptical. Like if this is something that the government was working on with some form of drone technology, which could be powered by fans or whatnot, which like my son has a drone, which is like the Millennium Falcon, which is strictly fans.
Oh yeah,
Right.
It's just these little
But
tiny.
it's multiple fans.
Yes, it is.
The only place this could have a fan is, like Chris was saying,
in the
this
center,
2-inch
yeah.
panel in the center.
Yeah.
There's nothing that could allow it to change direction.
No, that's true. That's true.
And so none of that would apply.
I mean,
to this.
I guess it could change. No, it couldn't. Maybe.
Well, there's seemingly nothing in the picture to show that it could alter anything
From the evidence
from
that we,
gravity and wind.
From
Like,
the
there's
evidence that
nothing to
we
make
have,
it
there's no
couldn't move.
indication of anything being able to maneuver it whatsoever.
It looks like a pilgrim hat right there.
It really does look like a pilgrim
That looks a
hat,
fucking
yeah.
belt buckle. It looks like a pilgrim hat.
Yeah, it
kinda
does.
does.
Yeah. This is interesting because
It's just such a weird fucking shape.
the
like,
hoax
why,
angle
why?
doesn't really. There's nothing to gain, and
Notoriety and ridicule.
The story is solid. They haven't recanted on
They
it.
didn't
at all.
recant.
No, they did not.
I mean, unless they're just holding to that couple pictures they got and whatever zine coverage they got from the UFO.
Yeah, but they didn't
Zine,
get any
yeah.
real popularity until what was it,
No.
2004,
Yeah.
when the comic book was published, and then 2007 is when the investigation was reopened. So here's the other thing. Even though it didn't show up on rainy days, and apparently I don't know if it thrived in water, it apparently did not stop it from making its escapes,
No,
even
it
when
took-
it was in a water-filled bag. So this thing could, again, whether or not it can fly, it can
water-filled
clearly
bag.
teleport
It's fucked up.
outside of duffel bags and plastic seals.
Yeah.
You know,
Christ.
whether or not the
Ugh.
rags negated its radioactive, fallout
Rads, dude.
factors.
Fucking rads.
Yeah.
Nothing could really stop it from moving. So it moves. The water didn't apparently kill whatever was in it. If it did have pilots, what the fuck? Like, seriously? How tiny would you have to be?
I'm not.
What are you?
I don't subscribe
Or
to
is
that
it the
one.
slime? Is the slime itself a life form, like a blob-like life form that can just assume whatever shape it needs to and maybe fill the crevices and do
No,
whatever it
maybe.
has to? We don't know. I'm not saying I believe that's the case. Or is it possibly sentient? Because these things are making this one specifically, but even the Oyama one as well, are making controlled maneuvers. They seem to be aware of the people or the things that are around it. They're actively trying to avoid it. They're making loud sounds and bright lights to scare people away. They're trying to escape whenever they're captured. All of this smacks of intelligent control.
It seems like there's something.
Well,
behind
or
it,
something
yes.
is monitoring it through that thing, and they can see what's going on.
Right.
Regardless
Which
of
to
whether
me-
it's remote or piloted,
But
it's
that
still
would still
intelligence.
be intelligent.
Well, I'm not saying
control,
that in itself is not intelligent.
Oh, I don't know. I don't necessarily
That's-
think it is.
That's what I'm saying.
But
Just to clarify, because I don't think that in itself is.
I'm not entirely sure it's not. I'll be honest.
Well, that's
don't-
what I thought you
don't
were just
know.
saying.
No, I'm just saying that I would say that assuming that everything we know is accurate, it is intelligently controlled, whether remotely piloted or sentient itself.
Yeah.
there is
Right.
an intelligence behind, because it wouldn't do these things if it
Sure.
was just a mechanized thing that somehow got away. Some prototype of factory was building Christ knows of what,
Yeah.
and it was just making weird motions on its own. Then it would not
Sure.
do the things it did
Right.
in active, participating with the people that were trying to capture it and trying to get away. And again, where would the illumination come from? Where would the sounds
Illuminati.
come from? How
So-
would it fucking fly?
So just to indulge my interdimensional angle here.
Which is what the main investigator
Yeah,
came to the
why?
conclusion
How do
of.
they? But what led them to that conclusion?
My
Did
problem
did
is
it say?
I haven't actually been able to come across. I found people that have read the report that have reported on it, but I've not been able to find even a Japanese language version of it that I could get
Right.
translated. I
Yeah.
would love to figure out how he came to this conclusion. Now, he seems to think, what was the guy's name? Hayashi.
Right.
He seems to think that this is an interdimensional vehicle that had temporarily lost its way and slipped into our realm.
Okay.
And probably Oyama one was the same thing, either the same exact vehicle
right,
or
right.
another one from the same place.
Which is, I mean, a theory that you can apply to almost anything.
What makes me
Really?
curious?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
right, because that's a big. That's like like our diabetes hallucination.
look,
I know.
dude,
crazy
Shrooms.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, shroom, dude. I am pro psilocybin, pro interdimensional, pro
Reptoid.
reptilian, draconian, Dracos, MDMA, whatever. I am pro psychedelic, reptilian,
MMA.
interdimensional.
I was trying to
Monster
say
trucks.
UFC.
Yeah. Wait, how do we get to
WWE.
MMA and W?
Regardless,
Yeah, no, I don't know. There's no monster trucks. There's no UFC.
monster trucks are the coolest trucks. You have to admit.
There's no monster
There's no
trucks.
UFC.
There's no UFC.
At least it was named Bigfoot in its heyday.
Gravedigger.
That's a cool one too.
I just saw a dude today
Yeah,
actually with a
Gravedigger.
Gravedigger shirt, and it was like an old school '80s shirt.
I
was
cannot
like,
believe that.
dude,
That's unbelievable.
Well,
Wait, the truck or the band?
the Gravediggers?
No, Gravedigger, the band.
No, it was the truck.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
the Gravedigger truck.
What was
So-
the other one? Like Robozilla or I don't know. The other truck.
Oh yeah,
The truck that
the one that
transformed?
transformed into the
Yeah.
big fucking thing. Yeah, and like shot fire and shit. Fuckzilla or whatever. Yeah.
They
Fuckzilla.
used to fight
Fuckzilla.
all across the
Yeah,
nation. It was like the
constantly.
Globetrotters.
Yeah.
They only played against one team.
Metal
Yeah,
Art
I know.
Lemon.
I know.
There you go.
Well, the Washington
Generals
Capitals
or
some generals.
something.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the interdimensional thing is obviously always on the table. Like
yeah.
whether the
well, it's always on the table.
dude Satan pilots a UFO.
Sure.
Let's go back to that story.
Here's the question I'm interested in. Like, why is it fucking up? Because when they find it, more often than not, it is not that they down it. It's not that they snag it out of midair and wrestle it to the ground.
No,
it's
just
that
they
for some
stumble upon
reason it is incapacitated.
Yeah.
Oyama actually, the little girl,
Well, they did waterboard.
saw it hit a
though.
tree. Yeah, but after it was already down.
Well, that's true. That's
So there, it seems like there's something wrong. So let's say, for interdimensional theorists' sake, that maybe something about the physics of that dimension where this thing could fly heartily sort of works here, but not quite. And again, I
Right.
know I'm pissing in the wind, and like it's functioning enough because it seems to be definitely, if not self-aware, at least has pilots or is being piloted by something that's aware. It's trying to stay away from things, so it's trying to function defensively like an animal might, but
Right.
it can't. But like a wounded animal, it can't quite get itself up.
It's just lashing out at its surroundings.
Yeah.
Kind of. It really
Yeah.
does.
Well,
It
I
seems
mean,
like an incapacitated animal.
Imagine like if there was. Imagine if there were. We knew there's shit on Mars and we programmed. The thing that's up there now,
The
Mars
rover?
rover,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to have some sensors
Right.
and just gave it these complicated heuristics so it knew when it sensed something was around
Right.
to just do some shit, right? And if it fucked up a little bit and it was just partially injured,
Right.
it would be trying to maybe correct itself constantly and maybe
Yeah.
get captured,
Yeah.
fucked up, you know what I mean? And
That actually makes more sense to me than anything else. The idea of this being a rover from another world,
Sure.
an exploratory
Yeah.
probe.
Some sort of drone. Yeah.
Makes a lot, and here's the other thing too that we should mention, and this is something that I wrote in my personal notes. Who's to say that the unusual markings on the base of the UFO were not intended to be a message for humanity, much like the ones we etched into the gold-plated disc on Voyager 1 for citizens of the galaxy to discover? In that sense,
Oh,
Yeah.
nice angle.
if
I
this
like
is
it.
a combination of Voyager in the sense that we're trying to tell you something about us,
Right.
waves for water, some flying thing, who knows
Yeah.
what, and like Chris said, a damaged rover, because I mean, traveling these kinds of distances, whether they're interplanetary, interlinear, if it's time, interdimensional, could probably take its toll, and it's functioning toughly, but like Chris said, maybe it's just pre-programmed to try to function and stay away from dangerous things and continue its mission. Maybe it's part message, part just a way for this other species to assess our world. Who's?
Yeah.
I mean,
you know what?
I don't know, but
yeah,
But that theory kind of makes sense. If you look at what we have done and what we will do, as far as sending things out,
Sending something robotic always makes more sense than risking
totally.
life.
Yeah,
Oh,
totally,
yeah.
totally.
We do it. I mean, we've had so many, rovers and probes being sent to the rovers on Mars and Moon. Well, I don't know if we have any rovers on the Moon. We've had probes on the Moon. Maybe the Russians sent one.
Is there a No.
Yeah, there's nothing.
The rover
I don't
was
think
only
there's
on
any.
Mars.
I think so too.
What's on the Moon though? Do we have? We don't have. We have
There's a
nothing.
flag,
Yeah, there's
I'm
flags, some
waiting-
boot
Supposedly.
prints,
I'm sorry.
doves.
supposedly.
Alleged moon.
Yes, alleged
Yeah.
moon. Yes.
The alleged flag on the alleged moon,
I don't listen. I don't believe.
and the
in-
alleged
I
universe,
don't
and the
believe in
alleged
nothing.
planet
I
Earth,
don't believe in nothing that
flat dish Earth.
Oh my God.
Flat dish Earth.
I'm more
Well,
inclined to think this is robotic than anything else.
I'm
No,
gonna, I'm
rover
going
sounds good
to,
to me.
I'm going to agree with you. Yes.
Which doesn't mean it can't be AI
no, it
of
very
an
well
extraterrestrial
kind.
It could totally
sort.
be AI.
Perhaps.
It could
but-
be self-aware in the sense that it's trying to preserve itself.
Consider that where we are right now, as in technologically, in as a species speaking, that we are like years from having Amazon drones.
This
and
nuts.
I know that I have, in the past, I have rallied and cheered on the oncoming Amazon drone.
You know, you want it so
absolutely
bad.
have.
I'm like, that's a
I
nightmare.
did, and now I think as an older statesman, as an elder statesman, I'm reconsidering my stance.
Dude, it was like last year.
It really wasn't that long. I know.
It was
It's
like
not like it
last
was
It
year.
decades
doesn't
ago.
take me long to grow and change. I like see a video where there's a drone that has a flamethrower on it and it's hitting something on an electrical line.
Oh, yeah, I
and I'm
saw
like,
that.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? This might not be a good idea because it's not gonna just bring me toys and shit that I need for my computer. It
Right.
might bring death from
Yeah,
above.
you're gonna get 6 pistols in your eyes.
Oh,
There's
damn
that.
your eyes.
So my gut instinct tells me that this is some sort of exploratory drone,
That kind of makes sense.
but
You don't want it to be.
I don't want it to be.
What do you want
The
it to be?
heart of your cards.
I'm playing with the Queen of Hearts right now, all right? I want it to be some sort of interdimensional thing because that's my bag that I
But
hold.
why can't it be an interdimensional drone? Why can't it be both?
It very well could be, but I have zero facts to
You,
we don't-
theory
none
to
of us
back
have
up.
facts.
you will never have a fact.
It's true.
we have
prove
grainy
I'm going
black
to,
and white photos
Listen,
and testimony that's
as a-
removed by 45 fucking years.
as a man that can change and grow with the times, I'm just going to stick with an intergalactic drone. I'm not going to go interdimensional.
Okay,
No.
intergalactic.
Intergalactic drone.
Well, like we were saying,
All
with
right.
this confluence of what's happening in 21st century human history
Life.
of AI, robotics technology, just what we've been able to achieve in this with this imminent singularity that people threaten.
Fucking mushrooms, MDMA.
All of that happening, who can even speculate when other cultures have reached this? And if you have, what better way to actually communicate and learn about the cosmos than to send out sentient drones?
Yeah.
Things that can think for themselves, try to defend themselves, that have basic protocols like Asimov's laws. You don't hurt things. You don't do permanent damage. You try to do whatever your protocols are based on the culture that created you, but you can think and you can function and you do your best to survive while recording as much information as possible.
Yeah.
And it gets a little damaged on the journey and it's just flipping around in some goddamn rice paddy and kids keep capturing it and have the thrill of a lifetime and a story to tell for generations, and it just manages to get away to return to wherever the fuck it has to go to give its information. And basically all it's talking about is like hammers and ovens and fucking ridiculous shit.
This thing reports back like, well, this shit started off good and then quickly
Yeah.
de-evolved because these fucking hairless monkeys don't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be a real favorable report on the human race.
No.
And I expect better of the Japanese. I really
Yeah, well,
do.
that's why it
If
started off
someone
okay.
said, which culture are you going to put forward? I would be quick to vote for them. I really would.
Yeah, I
Be
would
like,
too.
all right, yeah, you
Yeah.
can rep us in the intergalactic fucking summit. But
Yeah.
they fucked it up this time.
Yeah.
They're kids,
All that
but
time.
still, they fucked it up.
I know my spot in this hierarchy of humans, and I'm not the person you want to be there in the front line greeting the extraterrestrials.
Oh, no,
I'm
I
not
don't.
at all.
I don't think any of us would probably be the number
I
one.
think I think you and Chris do a pretty good job. You guys are
Oh,
pretty
man.
solid.
Depends, man.
No, I think you guys are both pretty solid to do it. I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses.
It's the three of us or it's nobody.
Yeah, I
If
know.
we're not all the emissaries, none of us are the
I can
emissaries.
live tweet it for you guys since you guys aren't on Twitter. I can live tweet it for you guys.
All right, well, all
Could
right.
you imagine
I
like
don't
in
want
a
to fuck
fucking
up and do something
in
wrong.
an Andromeda strain old scenario, you know, like where the helicopter just shows up and is like, your husband just became a very important man. And they like whisk him away. Like fucking government copters came
If there
down
was
and
like a
Chris Becker, it's
hot
like,
alien or
Rob,
something,
Chris, Mark.
you know? Yeah.
You're the ambassadors to a new
Yeah,
world.
see.
It was
See.
you were chosen in a special fucking technique to you know just enough about this. You're just open minded.
Dude, I know
enough.
we occasionally see the army chopper and it goes by, but like it just keeps getting louder. You're like, well, wow, that's really fucking close. And you go, it's just in the parking lot. Fuck. Why is that here? And they start,
Oh, shit.
That's not the destiny I'm looking for.
Every time a chopper lands, I think of, was it Commando? Right, with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yes,
Yeah.
where the government guy comes
Yeah.
and isn't that the same dude from fucking Andromeda Strain? Oh no, we're just gonna go on a fucking.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, we're gonna
All right.
we're gonna get done. Okay,
Sorry.
so Christopher, what do you think?
no, it rover like appears. I don't think it in itself is any kind of sentient, but
Okay.
I think it's controlled
All right.
at least.
So we're all kind of on the same page then, right?
No, I don't know because I'm iffy. I totally agree with what Chris is saying. I know we can't know for sure, but I have no reason to assume it's not. I think what Chris said earlier that it's almost patently ridiculous to think it has occupants in it. It's hard for me to wrap my head around little figures in there struggling to hit all the levers and mechanisms to make it fly. It's not beyond the realm, but I just don't see that happening. But the idea that something, even though it is not organic, can have either a computer sentience or some sort of awareness that we can't even fathom, I wouldn't rule it out. So I say I'm about 50-50. I do think it's a probe. I do think it was sent here to maybe learn, or for some reason I just can't fathom. The etchings on it are really fascinating to me, but I'm not going to say that I'm 100% sure it's not self-aware, because the way it was acting, it seems like unless there was like a magic eye wrapped around the whole perimeter of this thing that just is not seeable by human eyes, I don't know how its pilots could have reacted to the kids and their actions as swiftly as it did.
well, I mean, it doesn't mean there's consciousness.
It doesn't.
If it's just a higher tech, it's just a tech we don't know. That's why I say I just tend to lean more toward it's more technologically involved and conscious as we know it.
And I totally
Okay.
understand that.
I can
I
see
think
it.
the reason I think I'm leaning its touch more towards sentience is because we are so fucking close right now at our kind of remedial stage of development as a species in
Right.
terms of all the things we said with AI and everything else and the singularity, that I have no reason to think that if something has found a way to either breach interdimensional barriers or intergalactic space, that this species has not created a technology that could also be self-aware. Maybe not alive, but self-aware.
All right. Well, there you have it.
Well, what about you?
There, I'm just gonna go with
Magic.
yeah,
No,
It's a
man.
wizard hat.
magic.
It's a wizard hat doing its own thing.
I'm just gonna go with intergalactic probe.
It's gonna sort you out into a house.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Dad, just Gryffindor. I don't know the voice. I don't even know.
No, I'm just gonna go with regular. My gut instinct is always to go interdimensional because
Sure.
that's what I want to
Yeah,
do.
That's your deal.
I'm gonna fight.
Power.
I'm gonna fight my
What if-
instincts, and I'm gonna go with. It's not everything's got to be interdimensional.
No.
Everything doesn't have to be a multiverse. It doesn't have to be an Earth 2, an
Is it
Earth
a
3,
ghost?
an Earth 34 situation. It doesn't even got to be a ghost or a demon.
So that's not a
What
demo.
it has to be.
A Vic Damone.
I was hoping you said it was a
Damone.
demon.
What it has to be here, I think, is just some sort of probe sent from some sort of alien.
All right, so it's probe-ish.
Probe.
It's basically a
Or-
probe.
I think we're all or
the future.
a micronaut.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
we never dealt with the idea of
a
time.
micronaut
Because it looks human,
right, it's
crafted.
true.
I mean,
Yeah.
that could be some Etsy shit from fucking 3036.
It is a fucked up shape
It
for
is a weird
anything to send
thing.
back.
It's a
like,
bizarre
fucked up.
shape. Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, dude, I would love for like time travel or like I don't know, some sort of cool psychedelic thing to happen. But I don't really think I don't think that's a deal.
So you don't think the kids were tripping their balls off?
No, I always wish that they were, but
Sure, who
unfortunately
doesn't
they're
root
not.
for that,
Yeah.
huh?
Well, you don't know
it's
that.
good.
Come on.
It's good. They very well could be.
You know what? They studied too hard. They snapped. This is what happens. They just
a mass hallucination?
well,
You
a
talking about
mass.
that?
No. One of them, they secretly built it while sleepwalking, stressing out about all their tests, and then didn't realize they built it, and then they make it do the things it does, then remember it separately. It's a split personality, overwork, stress thing.
nice.
I saw it on Laverne and Shirley.
Oh, that could
it's
be.
true science.
It does
Is
look like a
that-
mini Nazi Bell.
It sure does.
You know what? Chris brings up.
That's my new thing, is
Chris
the Nazi
brings up
bell.
a good point. Is that it does look like a mini Nazi bell?
Sort
It
of,
does.
sorta.
It does look a little like that, and a smidge, though not exactly like the Kecksburg thing.
Yeah.
Though that looked more
Yeah.
like an acorn.
Should we do
Yeah.
a whole episode on like the Nazi bell? I mean, do we want to like broach it? I mean, it'd be interesting, I guess. Right?
It might be worth it. I mean, there's enough interesting information out there.
I'm not
Some
sure if it-
paperwork that's kind of
I
fascinating.
mean, I think some people that are in the know.
Well,
but
we might
some
have
of
to
our
group
some
it
other
in with
people
some
might
other
not.
things that's sort of evidence of.
That's true.
Maybe
we
and
could.
just do a crazy Nazi.
We'll just put it on the growing pile of
Yeah.
shit we promised to do that hopefully we'll all get to.
Our growing pile of shit is getting sorted
You know,
fairly well.
We're gonna have to actually make a list of the things,
we have
especially me.
we have a list and we're doing okay.
Okay, good.
All right,
Because
cool.
I feel like I pledge a lot of things, and my
No,
memory
we're
is
doing
sketchy.
good. We're doing good. Cool. All right, so there you have it. Thank you for joining us for the Kryptonaut podcast. As always, be sure to hit us up on the social medias.
Indeed.
The Facebooks, the Twitters, the Instagrams. I'm there. I'm talking to everybody. It's fun.
I try to go to the Facebooks and the YouTubes to talk to folks.
If for some reason I
the
don't get
tube.
back to you like super quickly, give me a couple of days. It's the summer. Shit's hectic. And yeah, things are happening. So
Yeah, but we
there you
love
go.
the feedback, and thank you
We
all
love
so
to
much
hear
for
from
the
everybody.
support.
It's so much fun.
Thanks for the cookies.
Yeah, thank you for the cookie. We got cookies?
Delicious.
No, we didn't get cookies.
Oh, it's sarcasm.
We did. actually,
My God, that was sarcasm.
we do have
Did
an
we get cookies?
We didn't. We,
all right.
we
Well,
do
Yeah, if
have
you
an
got secret cookies and didn't share. Oh,
we do have an address
He used to bring us food.
where we can receive things from people.
We do? Do we have a P.O. box?
No, it's a business address that we have now. It's a long story, but just if for some reason you would like to send us things, I guess, because people have asked us for our address,
Cookies in a box.
email us, and whether you would like to send cookies or beer or whatever, let us know.
Don't send
You can
heads.
email us, and I mean a box of heads that's very 7-esque would be weird.
oh.
That's what I'm saying. Don't do it.
Yeah,
Duffel
no,
bags.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Unless it's Alfredo Garcia. That's classic.
Yeah, some weird ramen or something where you're at.
Yeah, there you
Oh
go.
my God, indigenous ramen.
That's what I'm saying.
So we do have
I
we
want it. I
do
was so
have an
bad.
address that if you need to send us anything or would like to get a hold of me, I can let you know that address. Again, the social medias. Be sure to rate and review the show on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. It helps the show out greatly. And talking to you soon.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Oh, we're talking to you.
Bye.